Good evening, and I will bring this meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, led by Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Present.
Councilwoman Green is absent, excused. Councilman Hersberg.
Here.
Councilman Londo.
Here.
Councilman McDermott.
Present.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Present.
President Hart.
Present.
A quorum is present.
We have no special presentations or announcements today, so we'll begin with citizen input on the agenda. This time, if any residents would like to speak on the agenda, the business of the day, they can raise their hand. If you're using your telephone app, you can hit *9 to raise your hand, and then *6, of course, unmutes your phone. Through the Zoom app, you would just use the raise your hand feature. Beginning first, we have comments from a Mr. Dan Pollock. Mr. Pollock, you are unmuted, and you have 3 minutes. Mr. Pollock, are you there?
Council President.
I'm trying to unmute now. So Dan, are you there?
Yes, I believe so. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. So you have 3 minutes starting now.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Council President Hart, City Council, Mayor, for the time to speak. During the study session last Thursday, it was requested that any questions or concerns regarding the marijuana business scoring criteria be sent via email rather than to turn the study session into an open discussion. I submitted concerns to all members of the City Council on Friday night. However, I have not received a response or acknowledgement of receipt from any of the council members. I am hopeful this is due to considered thought put into the subject. I do have additional questions I would like to put before the city prior to the consent vote to approve the scoring system. Did the City Council members have an opportunity to review or revise the proposed scoring system prior to it being put on the agenda? And if not, is there any particular reason the approval has been rushed into 2 days by skipping it as a new business item after nearly 7 months since the ordinance was approved? Is thorough review being compromised for quick completion? Was anyone involved in the construction of the proposed scoring system contacted by marijuana lobbying efforts prior to scoring release? As it is in my understanding that the scoring was written by the city attorney and mayor's office, I would like to direct this question to the city attorney and mayor directly. In the proposed scoring, applicants planning to renovate blighted property can be awarded a potential 12 points, and applicants who remediate a property that is deemed environmentally contaminated by the Environmental Protection Agency or Environmental Great Lakes and Energy can be awarded an additional 8 points. Meanwhile, an applicant who has maintained their property to avoid blight and environmental contamination is only capable of receiving a maximum of 6 points, assuming it is vacant. What is in place to ensure that an individual who has owned the property for an extended period of time is not rewarded for their neglect? While it was mentioned in Thursday's study session that the intent of the scoring criteria was to include enough lightly weighted attributes that no one attribute could win or lose a license, I would like to note that the applicant who has owned and maintained a building to prevent blight and environmental contamination is unable to obtain a starting 14% of the total points when historic precedent shows that these competitive licenses are won or lost by a few points. 14% all but gives licenses to applicants who hold environmentally contaminated land in need of rehabilitation, regardless if they were the cause of its current condition. Regarding the current economic condition and recent furloughs within Westland, it is clear the city is in need of economic stimulus and tax dollars. Is there a reason that the timeline to open is not weighted in the scoring matrix? While addressing blight may increase property value, the time required to address those concerns will result in delayed opening and the resulting local jobs and tax dollars. I continue to be hopeful that the council can address these concerns with measures in place to ensure applications are scored in a way that is most beneficial to Westland residents. And if they require additional work to address, the city will take the time to address them rather than push an application process through prematurely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll just address one of the questions real briefly. The council did have a subcommittee that met on our scoring metric, and we worked on this for probably about 2 months before we moved this over to legal and administration to review, and an awful lot of time was spent on this. The committee also worked and solicited information from the industry, as well as spoke to our economic development advisor and our economic development director. So there's a lot of input, and the council that putting an eye towards new development was a goal of the council, and the council agreed on that. So that's where you see that. So thank you for your time, and we'll move now to Zach King. Zach King, you have your hand up, so we'll be able to see or hear you in a moment.
To hear me now?
Mr. King, I can hear you now, so your 3 minutes begins now.
Thank you much for the confirmation. I appreciate it. I share the same concerns, but appreciate you already addressing his question. It does address much of the topics I was going to be bringing up. I also shared some concerns regarding the emphasis on the construction of new facilities, and again, the scoring related to infrastructure that's been potentially blighted or neglected over time. And this is in regards to the scorecard for the aforementioned marijuana program in the Westland area. I wanted to present in simpler terms, addressing the emphasis on what could be considered a negative attribute. Not to say that the use of existing infrastructure is negative or the renovation of this infrastructure is negative, but that we're attributing scores, and a highly weighted score at this, to the what could be an opportunity to create a structure that is blighted or neglected over time. And I relate it back to the Cobra effect, and for lack of simpler terms, in historical anecdotes, we found that areas infested with cobras, they had a snake population that's out of control, is in need of a solution. So to do so, there's a reward placed on the cobra skins. And instead of having locals turn in the local cobra skins and getting a reduction in local population, it ends up surmounting to farming and opportunistic use of this reward, and essentially bringing in farms to farm cobras, the growth of the cobra population, and ultimately undermining the goal, which was a well-intended goal at that, but ultimately used for more opportunistic measures. And the way I relate this back to the current cases, are we creating a scenario where we may be allowing for people to use the opportunity to detriment an existing infrastructure or otherwise neglect one and use that to reap rewards in the score system? That is just part of my concern. And the other part of it is twofold: the use of an existing environment and the infrastructure that's already on hand. There is also scoring associated with building up new structures, which is arguably a benefit to our local community. I know there's growth that's going to be associated with that and the uplifting of local areas, but there is, of course, the moral implication of building over what could be potentially green space or other opportunities for local Westland residents, as opposed to those who have the finances and economic measures to move in and displace those opportunities and really assert themselves with the opportunity of this scoring. So I'll leave it at that. Twofold: the kind of Cobra effect, for lack of better metaphor, to present it in simpler terms, and this emphasis placed on construction and consumption rather than the reuse and recycling of existing infrastructure. So thank you guys for your time. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. At this time, are there any other comments from the public? We have a comment from David Purdon.
Can you hear me?
David, we can hear you now. So
Thank you guys for allowing me to speak. I don't want to beat a dead horse and reiterate what's been said over and over, but I just want to kind of leave it out there that it's just, I want a fair chance for all the local Westland property owners that are out there and looking to apply. And just a small example is, that in topic 1, letter F, it's 2 points that everyone has, no unpaid bills, things of that nature. Whereas a new buyer that comes in automatically earns those 2 points, while say a person that's been there for a decade or so had to work for those 2 points. So just looking if there's any type of revision or anything that we can put in there for current owners that have a long-standing compliant property in the city of Westland may be rewarded in that. So I just want to make sure it's a fair shake for everybody, not only the people coming in to spend multi-millions of dollars to build a new facility. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Are there any comments? Can you raise your hand through the Zoom app or *9? I have a hand raised from the phone number ending in 017.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can. You have 3 minutes starting now.
Thank you. Richard Graham from Move Westland Forward. Couple items under new business item 3. And it looks like a proposed gas station at the Kroger's on Ford Road and Central City Parkway. I listened in on a planning commission meeting and actually was, I guess, rather set back and put back. I believe it was declined and it went to council with not an approval with a 4-4 split vote. And, you know, frankly, a long-standing business, multiple locations within the city, and, you know, they do a lot for the city, Kroger's does, and they're in heavy competition with like a Meijer that has a gas station, that there'd be 4 planning commission people that would vote no. And in particular, there was one that, you know, was very critical of the gentleman and, you know, questioned him and peppered him with questions, which was Lori Wilson. You know, but frankly, somewhat unprofessional, especially from a large corporation coming in, wanting to do more within the city. And one of his comments was, you know, today Kroger would never put a new facility in location without having a gas station. So I'd be interested to see what city council does with this. But you know, planning commission, it was kind of bad from listening in, and I'm sure Kroger management is probably not pleased either. Lastly, regarding the marijuana and the discussion and hearing the comments, you know, definitely interesting to hear that a long-standing existing business that's been good for the area, meaning keeping their property not blighted, etc., would not have any type of, let's say, benefit from someone coming in, scooping up some cheap property or some cheap building that's been an eyesore for many, many years, and they're rewarded with more points. Kind of seems counterintuitive, where you have a long-standing business with a building that's kept it up, at least from the people that were speaking, and they don't have any benefit. They actually seem to be getting, you know, in theory, points reduced because of that. So just like, I guess it's the way it is. And it would be great to have an ethics board in place to oversee the selection process, which I believe is 2 council members and somebody appointed by Mayor Wild. Thank you and have a great evening.
All right. Next, I have Donna Beaupre. Donna, are you there?
Me?
I had you for a second, Donna. Are you there?
Are you there?
I'm here. We can hear you, and you have
Okay.
3 minutes starting now.
I just wanted to comment on the Kroger gas station as well. Where we live, it would literally be across the street. We have within a mile, we have 4 gas stations. Those gas stations obviously are not aware of a potential Kroger gas station. I have nothing against Kroger's. My neighbors and I, with the amount of traffic that we already have around here, are not happy with the intended purpose of putting a gas station in there. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Are there any other questions from the public? This time you'd raise your hand, or hit *9 if you're down on the phone, but I only see one of those. Second call, any comments from the public? Third and final call. We'll close citizens' comments and move to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Londell, supported by Councilman Godbout. Did I get those correct?
Hersberg.
Hersberg, I apologize. Is there any discussion?
Let me raise my hand here.
Council President Pro Tem Londo.
Thanks, Council President. I was wondering if we can move, what item is it again? Sorry, just give me 1 second here to find it. Can we move the item D, the approval request from John Glenn High School parade, to new business 1A?
The motion to move item D to 1A. Is there support?
Support.
Support for Councilman Hersberg. Is there any discussion? Mr. Herzberg, do you have your hand up for support or do you have your hand up for discussion?
Discussion.
Mr. Herzberg?
I'd also like to move item L to new business item 1B.
Well, let's get through the first motion and then we'll make the second one.
Sure.
So, all right, so the first motion was item D, Councilman Herzberg supported. Is there any discussion on moving the item? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
yes,
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item D will become 1A.
All right, moving back to the original motion, but I know Mr. Herzberg did make his motion to move item L. Is that correct, Mr. Herzberg?
Yeah, it still stands.
Is there any support? Support for Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion on that motion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
yes,
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Item L will be 1B.
All right, moving back to the modified consent calendar. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Excuse me, Councilman Hart.
Yes, sir. Did I miss something?
Well, there were some questions that normally, or, oh, I'm sorry, those were on item that was moved. I apologize. Yes.
All right, is there any other discussion?
No.
All right, roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
yes,
President Hart.
Yes.
Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held May 4, 2020. Approval of minutes of the budget study session held May 2, 2020. Approval of minutes of study session held May 4, 2020. Approval of bid for Hubbard Park Drainage Services. Administration recommended the low bidder, All Star Power, amount not to exceed $39,325, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign a contract approved by the city attorney. Approval of purchase of thermal printer, plotter, and required software to improve interior and exterior signage needs in-house. Administration recommended approval of the proposal from Grimco Incorporated, amount $21,515. Approval of renewal of the city's existing financial management system with BSNA software. Term of this renewal shall be for a one-year period. Adoption of ordinance 192C2, an ordinance to amend chapter 83 of the Westland City Code, sections 83.1, 83.2, 83.4, and 83.5 to regulate abandoned personal property and to provide for its removal after 48 hours. This item was introduced May 4, 2020. Adoption of ordinance 29W412, an ordinance to amend chapter 22, article 22, chapter 22, article 22, it also says article 4 of the Westland City Code to amend section 22132 and to add sections 22134 through 22136 to establish procedures for the removal of weeds. This item also was introduced May 4, 2020. Adoption of ordinance 167A9, an ordinance to amend chapter 18, articles 1 and 2 of the Westland City Code to amend sections 18.3, 18.17, 18.22, 18.23, 18.24, and 18.42 to promote the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city of Westland by regulating the control and care of animals. This item was introduced May 4, 2020. Adoption of ordinance 29W311, an ordinance to amend chapter 46 of the Westland City Code, sections 46.1 through 46.2 to provide for fees for weed cutting and for the removal of abandoned personal property. This item was also introduced May 4, 2020. Moving to new business, item 1, minutes of closed study session held May 11, 2020.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Landau, is there support?
Or
By Councilman McDermott, is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
yes,
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Abstain due to absence.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. I have to find my way back to item D. Item 1A, approval of request from John Glenn High School, 36105 Marquette, to conduct a graduation parade on June 6, 2020 to honor the class of 2020 graduates. The parade will begin at 12 o'clock p.m. at the Wesleyan Library, then proceed south on Carlson to Marquette, then east on Marquette to the John Glenn High School parking lot.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Landau, supported by Councilman Hersberg. Is that correct? All right. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Council President. Raise my hand here. Keep forgetting about the raised hand.
Yep. I need you to obey the rules like everybody else, sir. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I'm in full support of this. I just wanted to just bring it on the table to provide more discussion. I couldn't do that via our rules on the consent calendar. Had a few residents reach out that were obviously in support of it as well, and just had a few concerns and just wanted to let everybody know that the concerns were addressed. So I want to thank some people first. Vic Barra from the city administration, and also the John Glenn High School principal and the superintendent. Some of the concerns were just, some of the information that was out there, in our council packet, but also on the flyer that well, let me just start over. This is a parent-led event for the students of John Glenn High School. The city's approval is just to, allow the parade and obviously use some manpower for road blockage and things of that nature. And the same thing with the schools. The schools aren't really, they're involved to some extent, but it's more of a parent-led parade or parent-led parade. Yeah, I guess we'll put it that way. But with talking with them and some of the documentation that they'd seen, they just didn't feel comfortable. They didn't see that, social distancing guidelines, face coverings, things of that nature were really implemented. So I reached out to the school, and again, I reached out to Vic Barra. Both have assured me that there has been strict communication to the students, to the parents, to the faculty, to everyone involved, that there will be face coverings, there will be social distancing being observed as far as the parade route goes. And I have a very, very, very short statement, if you let me read it from the schools. It says, thank you to the City of Westland administration, City Council, and Police Department for supporting the efforts of the parents of the class of 2020 at John Glenn High School. They have organized a car parade on June 6th to recognize and celebrate our seniors. The district has worked with the parent group to ensure safety protocols and social distancing measures will be in place during the entire event. All guidelines will be followed in accordance with the governor's order. Requirements to participate in the parade include 1 senior per vehicle. Students are not allowed to get out of their car during the event. Decorating of the vehicle must be done at home or at a predetermined location with supervision by the parents of the class of 2020. Spectators may view the parade from Central City Parkway, but must keep a social distance from other spectators. The John Glenn High School campus will be reserved for John Glenn and district staff only. The public will not have access to John Glenn High School. And that's the end of their statement. So they really just want to reiterate that they are, implementing the measures that, that weren't really clear in some of the flyers. I believe they're going to change some of their communication on the flyers to get that out there. And we all want, the importance of safety for our children is extremely important to all of us. I know that. So we want to make sure everyone was Westland safe and Westland smart. So I'll be in full support of this. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Mr. Barra, do you have something to add?
I just wanted to add that they use the verbiage parade when in fact this event is more about a caravan with families and their own personal vehicles. There's not going to be the interaction, social distancing issues with regard to this event. This is very much a bunch of great families and kids decorating their cars and being part of a caravan. And I think that's why they gain immediate support from police, fire, and of course the administration. So it's a great event that's accomplishable within the difficulties we're all facing. So I'm really excited about it.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Is there any other discussion from the council? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
yes,
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving to item 1B, which was item L on the consent calendar. Approval of the City of Westland's marijuana business application consideration policy and corresponding application for marijuana business license and selection criteria.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Godbout. Is there support? Is there support?
I'll support it for discussion.
Supported by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Actually, no, let's answer the question. So, Mr. Falsone, are you prepared to go and answer the questions that were asked?
Certainly, through the chair, there's a number of questions, but a lot of them boil down to the scoring matrix and its preference for new economic development. During the 10 or so study sessions that council had, certainly over the couple of months that the council subcommittee discussed this particular policy and scoring approach, and in discussions with the administration, including the mayor's office, the economic development team, there is a preference here in the scoring matrix for new economic development in the city. I think that's part of the way in which council set forth it was going to venture into adult use marijuana in the city, is the resulting economic development that would occur. And indeed, in that vein, there was a recognition in the policy and the scoring matrix that there are properties in Westland that need a boost to get back into productive use. It was not a attempt by council, I don't believe, to punish those who've been maintaining their property or earning a good, hopefully, return on their property, but instead designed to result in new economic development, and it may boost it in areas where there is some blighted property. I know Mr. Ayub from the planning director's office has also been in those discussions and may or may not have anything else to add. We certainly appreciated the comments sent by Mr. Pollack. Those were reviewed internally over the last few days, and discussions have taken place among the administrative team relative to that. But again, I think part of what maybe have been missed in some of the comments is that indeed the policy and the selection approach is designed to increase new economic development and hopefully put a blighted property or two into new use.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. Through the chair to the city attorney, can you just explain briefly how this this language here is going to compile the selection committee and who's going to be on that selection committee?
Certainly, through the chair to the council, there was a misstatement in one of the comments by one of the citizens in the prior explanation. The selection committee is an administrative committee. It will review the applications. When the applications first come in, we'll find out whether or not they comply with just the basic facts. Did they file their fee? Did they sign them? You know, those sorts of things. Once that grouping has been put together, they then will be broken into, the applications will be broken into, if somebody's just applying for transporter, that's in a different pile than those who are maybe seeking application for provisional centers. And then the three members of the selection committee, which is ranking and scoring them against the council's scoring matrix that you're being asked to approve tonight, will be an administrative group. The mayor will appoint those 3 people. Then those scores will be made available to the applicants. The applicants then will have a period of time in which they can contest that scoring that they received. And it's that group that contesting any scoring, which goes to the Marijuana Business Review Board. And that review board then is made up of 2 council members or their designees and 1 mayoral appointment. So council is not scoring it. It was sort of maybe suggested they were scoring it here, or that they were sitting on the review board. It's instead, as I've just described. Hopefully that answers the question, council member.
Yeah, it does. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. And just regards to some of the comments that were made by maybe how the scoring is going to incentivize people to not keep up their properties. Well, while I see that's possible, I think this is just going to happen way too fast for anything like that to happen. I think we're going to get the applications back, and this process is going to move way too quickly for anybody to let their property go downhill and then use that as an excuse to score better. So I think in regards to that, we're in good shape.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion from the council? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Moving to new business, item 2, approval of settlement recommendation regarding Trujillo versus City of Westland as discussed in a closed study session held May 11, 2020.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Landau, supported by no, sorry. You guys, it doesn't flash up fast enough. Who put it up? Was it Peter? I apologize.
Yeah, I did.
Thank you, Peter.
Also,
Motion by Councilman Hersberg. So I heard a support by Councilwoman Rakowski. Do I have that correct? All right, I got head nods. We're doing good, making progress. All right, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business item 3, approval of site plan for proposed Kroger gas station, 36420 Ford Road, the Kroger Company of Michigan. This is the north side of Ford Road, west of Central City Parkway, Planning Department number 1690T. The Planning Commission motion to approve resulted in a failed motion. The Administration and Planning Department recommend approval.
Waiting for screen share, Craig. Can you confirm?
Don't we need a motion first?
Yeah, we need a,
motion.
hold on, we're putting the ox in front of the horse here, so I need a motion and support
Right.
before we can put it on the floor for discussion.
I'll make a motion to deny.
There's a
Support.
motion, there's a motion to deny by Councilman Godbout, supported by Councilman Londo.
Nope.
Nope. I don't have the gallery view, so I don't know who made the support.
Councilman Hersberg.
Oh, Councilman Hersberg.
I have a little
So,
bit of a deeper voice than him, but okay.
yep. All over here on my side, it might sound a little different. So, all right. So there's a motion to deny by Councilman Godbout. It was supported by Councilman Hersberg. Do I have this correct? Very good. Is there any discussion on the motion to deny? Mr. Godbout, you have your hand up. Do you wish to add discussion to that or no?
Well, I just wanted to explain my reasons for the motion to deny. The site was previously looked at, as was mentioned, back in 2010. Kroger does own that building. They do not own the strip center that the store is in. That is owned by another company. The reason that it was denied 10 years ago when it was brought before council was there have been at least 2 studies on the Ford Road corridor that, as you heard during the explanation, indicated that there should be no more automotive uses or no new automotive uses on the Ford Road corridor. The DDA has also purchased one of the previous automotive uses and leveled the building that was on the opposite corner so that they could further that vision of transforming the Ford Road corridor and reducing the number of automotive uses along Ford Road. So, we paid twice for studies, and that doesn't include the Ford Road overlay study and some other things that the city has done to tell us that we shouldn't be approving new automotive uses along that Ford Road corridor. So, I'm sure that Kroger bought that building on spec, fully anticipating that the city would allow them to put a fueling center in there, regardless of whether it was really in the best interests and the plans that the city had moving forward. So I just wanted to explain my position as to why I made the motion to deny. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Godbout. Is there any other discussion on the motion to deny? Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I understand there's a motion to deny on the table. Will the administration have a chance to talk about the project? Mo does have a presentation.
It's appropriate. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and look at the project. Absolutely. Mo?
Mayor, did you have anything else?
We appreciate the fact that Kroger's, they're good corporate citizens. They do have 4 properties in the city of Westland. They have invested in all 4 of them. And, the project that they brought forward tonight, as we understand it, there hasn't been a lot of support in the past for this, but they are good corporate citizens, and they do have a site plan that they asked Mo to present tonight. So I understand that there's a motion to deny it, but I think we should at least take a look at the project.
Go ahead, proceed, Mo.
Okay, I'm gonna do a screen share here. Give me one moment, please. Looks like it's up. Brad, can you confirm?
No, you're up.
Thank you. Okay, so the property here is located on the north side of Ford Road, just west of Central City Parkway. The site contains, as you know, the former Lone Star restaurant, which is now vacant. It's part of a larger parcel that's zoned PUD and comprises of about 35 acres. The petitioner is requesting site plan approval to demolish the existing building and construct a Kroger fueling station. The property is currently owned by the Kroger company, and the building was previously used as their training facility, but currently sits vacant. They no longer do the training activities at their site. As Councilman Godbout mentioned, on June 21st of 2010, the City Council did deny the request for site plan approval for a proposed Kroger fueling station. There are considerable modifications that are being proposed from that site plan that was presented 10 years ago. Some quick site plan information. The proposed site plan complies with the zoning ordinance. There's a small 200 square foot kiosk that you typically see at these Kroger gas stations with a canopy built over top. The site plan reconfigures the entire parking lot and reduces some of the impervious surface to install new landscaping and eliminates all the parking with the exception of 4 spaces here and a loading zone over here. There is shared access to the site that is maintained. There are no additional curb cuts being proposed. The closest curb cut to the intersection is more than 100 feet, which is not typically seen at gas station sites. So this mitigates any of the traffic concerns that are typically generated from gas station developments at the intersections. The proposal includes a landscape plan that adds a considerable amount of landscaping to the site, specifically along the Ford Road frontage, in addition to installing or extending rather the city installed decorative fence that exists in this location and extends it along the Ford Road frontage in this location here. Some quick considerations that the Planning Commission, Planning Department and Administration took when preparing its recommendation. This proposed fueling station, based off these renderings, is an exact replica of the one on Ann Arbor Road in Plymouth, Michigan. This was viewed as one that takes landscaping design and overall traffic concerns into consideration when a gas station development is proposed, and kind of mitigates all of those issues and proposes a nice design using brick wrapped columns and the hip designed roof to give it not your typical Kroger gas station feel. So we asked them to do that for us, and they came back and did it, and are providing a little bit more than what the Plymouth location currently has today. The Reimagined Ford Road DDA action plan, as Councilman Godbout mentioned, does acknowledge the fact that there are quite a bit of auto-oriented auto-related uses along Ford Road. I don't think that's a secret to anyone here. It does call for restrictions in our zoning ordinance to not only get rid of, but to restrict any future auto-oriented uses along Ford Road. While gas stations were not expressly called out, they are considered an auto-oriented use. Again, I kind of hit on this a little bit, but fueling stations are generally viewed as unfavorable because of the traffic volumes, along with their excessive curb cuts, the fact that abandoned gas station sites are typically difficult to convert to other uses, and various other visual impacts resulting potentially from neglected ownership over time. And while gas stations are not typically viewed as favorable land uses, again, this site does mitigate a lot of the concerns specifically for traffic that were discussed early on during discussions with Kroger and the administration. It is true that Westland has quite a bit of gas stations. I believe I counted between 33 and 35 in the city limits, 4 of which are within a mile radius along Ford Road from this location here. It's unknown what the impacts of those gas stations would be if this was built. However, it's not unreasonable to expect that there would be some sort of economic impact, which may result in an ownership change, required renovations for it to stay competitive, or even closures. And as you know, closures can lead to abandonment and blight, or maybe redevelopment or closures. And the last thing that we took into consideration was the fact that Kroger has owned this site for over a decade. And their representatives have stated to us multiple times that they are not interested in selling this site. With that, we came up with a recommendation to approve contingent upon the existing shopping center identification sign right here being removed and replaced or upgraded. And that motion at the Planning Commission did fail with a 4-4 tie vote. There were 2, potentially 3, 1 business owner, 1 resident in attendance voicing opposition. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, if I could have back my gallery view. Mo, is the petitioner here today? Do they have anything to add or no?
They are here. Matthew Pisco.
Mr. Pisco?
Through the chair, thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak before City Council. I can probably present this project from a macro standpoint all the way down to the site specific in less than 4 minutes. to give you an overview of Kroger and its operations nationally and in this site specifically, if that's your pleasure.
It's your floor if you want to present anything, so it's up to you.
All right. From a macro perspective, the Kroger company operates 1,500 company-operated fuel stations from coast to coast in the United States, in 37 states. They're a bona fide petroleum marketer, publicly traded, risk-averse company. Their design, operation, and safety record is exemplary, and they use a state-of-the-art double-wall fuel system that's second to none. Some things that separate this proposed operation from a traditional convenience store gas station is the fuel operation can only operate when the grocery store is open, which is from 6 a.m. To midnight. And typically the fuel station's open a half hour or so after the main store and close a half hour before to clear the till. The fuel station cannot operate separately from the grocery store. If you can imagine, this is a category like the meat department, deli department in the grocery store. These are Kroger employees that are in the kiosk, which is a de minimis 198 square feet. This is not a convenience store. So that's a huge distinction from other traditional petroleum marketers. Fuel transactions, for the most part, take place at the dispensers via credit card, but there is a small transaction drawer on the front of the kiosk. No one goes into the actual kiosk for transactions. Again, unlike traditional convenience stores, this is a very small operation at 198 square feet. Traffic is a concern. I've heard that several times at the Planning Commission and here. Kroger incentivizes our customers. It's not a private club like Sam's Club or Costco. People can come from the public and get fuel here, but 60% of the traffic comes from the parking field within the grocery store after shopping takes place, where you accumulate points. For every $100 you spend, you get 10 cents off a gallon, up to $1, which is distinctly different from Shell, who also has a partnership with Kroger, but their discounts are limited to 10 cents a gallon. So it's really a twofold operation that, one, helps a store stay viable with our competitors, Myers and Costco's of the world, and benefits our customers greatly because as they shop, they get the benefit of discount fuel, and who can't use that. So, but 60% of that traffic comes from our existing shopping trips. You know, we have a track record at Cherry Hill and Merriman of one of these fuel stations, and it's operated very well, safely and cleanly for its duration. We look forward to the opportunity, if granted, to raise this steakhouse. And I know we were denied. We're well aware of that, but the store operates, has 110, 120 employees. This will add 3 to 4 new full-time equivalent positions. We're utilizing existing property. We're not asking for a green site. We're utilizing existing curb cuts. We're reducing 40 parking spaces from the field to bring that landscaping farther into the site at Central City Parkway and Ford Road, extending the streetscape elements, which are quite handsome, in a western direction to the approach. No new curb cuts. The architectural features mimic the building exactly with a mansard roof. And with that, I will say we appreciate your thoughtful consideration, and I'm open to any questions.
Are there any questions from the council? Are there any discussion? Any other discussion? Reminder, this is on a motion to deny. Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion to deny passes unanimously. New business, item 4. Approval of special land use for proposed indoor airsoft arena, 34420 Ford Road, north side of Ford, west of Wildwood. This is Planning Department number 2234. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg,
Second.
support by Councilwoman Rakowski. Mo?
Yes, you sure.
You're muted, Mo.
Got it. Thank you. The site here is located on the northwest corner of Ford Road and Wildwood in a vacant suite between Heartland Market and Ollie's Outlet. The applicant is requesting special land use approval for an indoor recreational airsoft arena in the 24,000 square foot space. The property comprises of about 14 acres and is zoned CB2. That's our shopping center commercial business district. The petitioner proposes no exterior renovations. And in addition to, the petitioner proposes no exterior renovations, and will build out the interior for the indoor airsoft arena into a floor that could be transformed into different scenes for the play area, including a game room for guests who are waiting, a seating area for consuming food prepared off-site, and a small retail operation. There will be no food service in the facility, and this use is similar to Motor City Arena in Clinton Township and Commandos in Roseville. Access and parking are sufficient and are existing. There are no new additions being provided. There are 840 off-street parking spaces well beyond the requirements. Screening is provided currently as it exists to screen the residential properties to the north and to the west, along with the berm on Wildwood and Ford Road as required by the zoning ordinance. Hours of operation are Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. through 10 p.m. and Friday through Sunday, 11 a.m. through 10 p.m. Finally, the proposed use will operate similar to a laser tag facility, and granting special land use approval will not be detrimental to the order of development or the adjacent land uses. The Planning Commission is recommending approval with the condition that a security and safety plan be provided to the Planning Department. So I suggest that that be included in your motion as well. Thank you.
Is the petitioner present?
Yes, City Council, I'm present. My name is Ali.
Ali, you have anything to add to this for us to hear?
No, if you guys have any questions, I'm able to answer.
Council, do you have any questions for the petitioner? All right, first one comes from Councilman McDermott.
Good evening, and thank you, Ali, for joining us. Just a quick question regarding the security procedures that you're putting in place. Obviously, there are airsoft guns available for public sale that have a, shall we say, a realistic look to them as a comparison to a real firearm. Just want to know what kind of security procedures you have in place, not only to keep your building and facility secure, but also for those who are going to be living around the area for the subdivisions that back up to that facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mike McDermott. So basically what we're doing is we'll have two security, and as they enter the facility, number one, prior to arrival, all airsoft guns must be stored, secured, and carried inside a bag, case, or box, no exceptions. Once they enter the facility, before they even get into the second door, We inspect the airsoft rifle for the orange tips. Also, most airsoft guns that come into our facility are battery operated. And so that would be 80 to 90% plastic, which we would clearly indicate that that would be an airsoft rifle to enter our facility. So that's the security measures. Before they enter the facility, they must go through a stringent FPS inspection. All airsoft weapons before entering arena, meaning does not comply with the 350 frames per second at 0.20 grams for the BBs, then they will not be permitted to enter at all the arena. So we have strict policy in place, and we also have the most important thing is to have the security before they even enter the facility, where we inspect the airsoft rifle before it even enters the second door to the facility.
Okay, does that answer your question, Mr. McDermott?
It does. Thank you, Council President.
Very good. Next question, Ali, comes from Councilwoman Rakowski.
I'm sorry, I didn't click lower hand quick enough. Mr. McDermott addressed most of my concerns. I did have one additional question, just in regards to our fire marshal. When you have, scenery that's changing often, I just didn't know if there is plans to make sure that the fire department was well read in on your plans for the different scenes, if you will forgive my layman terms.
Oh, thank you for your question. So the change of scenery is basically the actual walls, the small plywood walls, the little rooms we do is not going to change. The scenery is pretty much like wallpaper. For instance, just to give an example, and many times this happened, don't ask me why, Pokemon. Like people want to, different scenery, we'll put different wallpaper up, something that has to do with Xbox or PlayStation, something that gets them more involved. And also corporate events where we would put Ford Motor Company's wallpaper up versus GM. Stuff like that. It wouldn't be the actual physical construct would change. It would just be cosmetics.
Thank you. That addresses my question.
Thank you. Next question comes from Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. Thanks, Ali, for the explanation. I'm looking through the paperwork that City Council got. Does your business have a name? I don't see a name here.
Yeah, it's a Michigan Indoor Airsoft Arena.
Okay. And then at the Planning Commission, you did mention that the pellets were biodegradable. Are those not made of plastic? What material are those that I don't see those be piling up in the parking lot or out the back door? I'm sure you guys go through quite a few of them.
Right, of course. Well, what I mean by biodegradable in airsoft weapon, when we're dealing with airsoft, meaning they can't reuse those BBs, so they can't re-put them back in, pick them off the floor and put them back in. Their airsoft rifles will be jammed. But as far as biodegradable, so let's say if one of those BBs decided to leave the facility and they went on the parking lot, one simple rain would automatically, within 3 hours, will dissolve that BB. So we, of course, sweep the facility every night, and we collect them all. And basically, all we do is apply water to them, and they dissolve. So as far as the BBs go, the actual grade of BB is 0.20 gram BBs. And that's all that's allowed in our facility. If you go above 0.20, then you get into heavier BBs, which is not going to be permitted, because we're also taking a step further and not permitting any CO2 airsoft pistol. Now, normally it's legal, but we do not want that in our facility. Going back to the security measures, is because CO2 can't be regulated. A lot of these kids, they'll take their CO2, they'll mod their guns, and then they come in and I have to confiscate them and tell them, hey, you can't enter the facility. So we're eliminating CO2 altogether. But for the actual grade of BB, which is pretty much the material, So it's not plastic. It's basically like the closest thing is like kind of like styrofoam / fiberglass. It's very, very like styrofoam, but it's a harder shell. So inside is like styrofoam, but the shell of it is a little harder. The only way I can explain it is the weight. I mean, that's all most airsoft BBs, when they talk about weight. And so, yeah, that's how they're biodegradable. We just collect them, hit them with water, and they get dissolved.
All right, I appreciate that. And you said the name was Michigan Indoor Airsoft Arena?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ollie, you're not off the hook yet. Next question comes from Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, President Hart. Thanks, Mr. Hamadi, for the investment in the community. Two questions. I was looking through the packet as well. Do you have another location, or are these locations in here that you mentioned in Clinton Township and Roseville just examples? So do you already have one of these concepts?
Those were just examples. This is actually the first concept I would like to own. So I do not have another location.
Okay, great. Well, we're glad you picked Westland. The only other question I got, I asked this a lot of times, what's the timeline looking like, and with the COVID situation, what's that looking like for you as far as keeping people safe in that aspect?
So glad you asked that. So basically, we've been working hand in hand with the landlord of the facility, and he is in total agreement, of course, depending on approval of the board, that we would not open or facilitate the Michigan Airsoft Arena until we find out what's actually happening with the whole COVID crisis. Once the state, of course, approves facilities such as the one I'm trying to open, and they allow us to open, then we would actually start on the process of opening that facility. That's something that we discussed. But, again, it's all based on, of course, our city officials and, of course, the state. I mean, whatever the state guidelines are, we follow. And that's it.
Great. We appreciate it. And I also watched the planning commission meeting as well, and a lot of my questions were addressed, but hearing that just solidified me, so I'll be in support of this. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the petitioner? All right, is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
I'm assuming that is the motion include the inclusion of the wording from the Planning Commission regarding the review of the safety plan, and I can't remember what else was in there.
Good catch, Councilman Godbout. Mo, can you restate that, and then we'll ask the petitioner and the maker and the supporter if they agree with that.
Yes, if you wish to approve, the motion would be to approve with the condition that a safety and security plan is provided to the planning department consistent with the planning commission's recommendations.
The maker and supporter okay with that amendment?
Sounds good. Sounds like he's got a good plan.
All right, then as amended. So is there, now we'll move into roll call.
So as amended, just a note, Mo, if you could send me that, I'd appreciate it. I couldn't write quickly enough.
Unacceptable, Mr. Clerk.
I hear that often. To approve as amended, Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Ollie, congratulations. Welcome to the city of Westland. We look forward to supporting your business, and thank you for coming onto this meeting today and taking a grilling from the council.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I promise you, you'll all enjoy it. I mean, it's going to be really fun. I mean,
well, I live close by, and I do my shopping in Heartland, so I'll be by to check on you. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
New business item 5, approval of proposed land division 37550 Cherry Hill, north side of Cherry Hill, west of Newburgh, Planning Department number 1884A, Planning Commission recommends approval and directs the city attorney to draft the necessary land division resolution.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Hersberg. I need support. Please voice it so I can hear you.
Support.
Support by Councilman McDermott. Mo, take us through it.
Okay, I'll be quick with these. This site is located on on the north side of Cherry Hill between the railroad and Newburgh Road. Currently, it's set up in this yellow outlined square, right, rectangle here. It's a location you might know. The Hush Haunted House is on your right-hand side of the red line. The owner, Cody Bailey, is proposing to split this parcel and to market the property remaining to the left for sale. The property is currently zoned I-1 light industrial, and the split does comply with the minimum lot width requirement of 100 feet along Cherry Hill and the minimum lot size requirement of 10,000 square feet. So parcel A is the 5.56 acre housing Hush, and parcel B is the vacant parcel. There are no setback encroachments or lot coverage deficiencies being created as a result of this split. The Planning Commission is recommending approval. Thank you.
All right, if I can have my view back, thank you very much. Mr. Bailey, the petitioner, is he here today?
He is.
Mr. Bailey, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I think that's it. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Very good. Are there any questions from the council for the petitioner? Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. Thanks, Cody, for joining us. Just a quick question on the back end of that property. Is there a creek back there?
There's a county drain that runs right along the back from, I mean, it comes down kind of at an angle from the top northwest corner over.
Okay. I'm just curious, based on the comments from the residents at the Planning Commission meeting, through the chair to the city attorney, if this does go through to industrial and somebody wants to build, is there a process for them to relocate that drain and build on the full extent of the property, or are they going to be limited to that point?
Through the chair, if that's a county drain, as indicated, relocating or moving that county drain, it would be a difficult process requiring county and possibly state permits, whether it's a stream or a drain. You get different regulatory pieces in it, but certainly that would be a challenge in either event.
Thank you. I just wanted that clarified because some of the residents were concerned that there was going to be industrial built basically all the way up to their backyard, but I don't see that happening. So I'll be in support of this.
All right. Are there any other questions for Mr. Bailey? Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Cody. Thank you for showing up today.
Thank you.
New business, item 6, approval of proposed land division, parcel number 00799-0002000, Wayne County Land Bank, south side of Ann Arbor Trail, east of Merriman. This is Planning Department number 2233. Planning Commission recommends approval, and if approved, directs the city attorney to draft the necessary land division resolution.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Landau. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilman Godbout. Mo, now take us through the presentation.
Thanks. This site is located on the east side of Merriman between Ann Arbor Trail and Edward Hines.
We don't have the presentation up yet, Mo.
Sorry.
There we go. Thank you.
All right, cool. On the east side of Merriman between Ann Arbor Trail and Hines, about 12 and a half acres and is zoned R5. That's our single family residential district. The applicant, Wayne County Land Bank, proposing to split the property into 2 parcels. Existing parcel is your yellow outline. The new parcel is this one and the remainder of the yellow. The land bank plans to donate the larger parcel here that is unbuildable in a floodplain, flood area to the Wayne County Parks. There is no immediate plan for parcel A. It is buildable. The city has received interest in a couple different parties that want to assemble properties here and potentially looking at a residential development. Nothing concrete or set in stone, just inquiries. The resulting parcels, similar to the other one, are compatible with the lot size requirements, both the lot size requirement of 7,200 square feet in the R5 district. Parcel A is 2.5 and parcel B is 9.78 acres. The Planning Commission is recommending approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If you can give me back my view, perfect. All right. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Rakowski.
Thank you. When I look at your survey, it seems that that newly created parcel, it looks landlocked. It is? Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I was nodding my head. I didn't mean to do that.
Oh.
It is, yes, to answer your
Okay.
question.
And so to develop that, then there would have to be a road then installed.
So I can't show it to you because we're not screen sharing. I'd be happy to do it again, but
If you want to put it back up, Mo, to help us answer the councilman's questions, please do.
all right. So is it up?
It is.
Okay, perfect. So if everything works according to plan, I don't know how long this is going to take. I can't promise anything, but if everything works out according to this person's plans, in coordination with the city and the land bank, Liberty Avenue would be extended hypothetically, and that would provide access to a potential residential development.
Okay. And Mo, did you say about how many lots would be part of that new parcel?
It's still too early to say. We were tossing up 25, similar to something that would be at the golf course. Maybe a different product, but potentially similar land or lot sizes.
All right, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right, Mo, take me back to gallery view, please. All right, the next question comes from Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you. So I'll not be in support of this one. While I do support the southern parcel being incorporated into Hines Park, I think that's great. I'd like to see the entire property incorporated into Hines Park. Some of the Carousel Boulevard residents came to the Planning Commission, and I have to stand with them on this one. A lot of them paid a premium for their properties. Similar to other areas in town where we've done developments, there's very few homes left in town that have a backyard of green space or up to a nature preserve. And I just think council should try to maintain that appeal for how many homes we have that have that kind of view already, rather than take it away. I would like to see that entire parcel be incorporated into Hines Park. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hertzberg.
No.
Councilman McDermott.
No.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, item 7, nomination of member of the Westland Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term with the term to expire May 6, 2023. 2 existing commissioners, David Rappaport and Merrill Downing, have each submitted letters requesting consideration for reappointment.
Council President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a nomination. I don't know if it's appropriate to make a nomination for both gentlemen or just the one.
There's
Well,
two
we have
separate items today.
two separate items.
Okay, I'll make a nomination for Commissioner David Rappaport for reappointment.
Support.
There's a motion for
Motion to
David
close
Rappaport. Are there any other nominations?
Motion to close nominations.
1 second. Are there any other nominations? There's a motion to close nominations by Councilman Hirschberg. Is there support by Councilman Landau? Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Close nominations. Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hirschberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business item 8, appointment of member to the Wesleyan Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term with the term to expire May 6, 2023. Commissioner David Rappaport has been nominated.
So moved.
Or
There's a motion to appoint by Councilman Hirschberg, support by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hirschberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion is approved unanimously to appoint David Rappaport. New business, item 9, nomination of member of the Westland Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term with the term to expire May 16, 2023. Existing Commissioner Merrill Downing has submitted a letter requesting consideration for reappointment.
Are there any nominations?
I move to nominate Merrill Downing.
Or
Motion to nominate Merrill Downing by Councilwoman Rakowski, supported by Councilman Landau. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Motion to close nominations.
Sorry. But thank you. It's getting into a routine. There's a motion to close nominations by Councilman Landau. Is there support?
I was Herzberg, but I'll support it.
You guys are right next to each other and your screens are popping up at the same time.
Have blue jackets on today.
Yeah, there you go. So the maker is Councilman Hirschberg, supporter is Councilman Landau. There we are. Motion to close nominations. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilman Hirschberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business, item 10, appointment of member to the Westland Zoning Board of Appeals for a 3-year term with the term to expire May 16, 2023. Merrill Downing has been nominated.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay.
Peter made the motion. I supported it.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilman Hirschberg, supported by Councilwoman Rakowski. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hirschberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business, item 11, approval of voucher.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Godbout,
Support.
support by Councilman McDermott. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green is absent. Councilman Hirschberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, this time we move to the general comments and questions from the public. Public will be recognized for up to 3 minutes. Any citizen wishing to speak will be heard. You need to use the raise hand feature on your Zoom app or *9 if you're dialed in by phone. First one we have is Dan Pollock. Dan, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you can, and your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the comments made earlier by Councilman Hirschberg. I do have a question. It seems like that response was pertaining to any type of new nefarious acts as a result of the newly released rules, given the timeline for application submission. But I am still concerned and have a question of how previous neglect would have been addressed if someone had been neglecting a property for up to a year, or as it was mentioned by the city attorney and Council President Hart, how this process has been in place for over a year now, how anybody that at the beginning of this process could have either nefariously neglected their property or just as a result of neglect through the years now become a personal beneficiary of their own neglect. Is there any recourse or countermeasure in place to make sure that the people responsible for the neglect are now not reaping the benefits of their own poor actions?
Okay, Dan, I can have the city attorney answer those questions during his speaking moment coming up here very shortly. All right. Are there any other questions from the public? Any other questions from the public? Final call. Any questions from the public? We now move close citizens' comments and move to the comments from the administration. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, City Council. Just a couple of quick things here. First of all, on the agenda tonight, we do appreciate your consideration of the Kroger's request for the fuel station. As I had said earlier, they are good corporate citizens, and they understood, and we've been talking with them, that there wasn't a lot of support when they brought this forward last time. So they did sharpen up their pencil a little bit, but I think that they understand that. So with that said, we still welcome their continued investment in the city of Westland. It's a good mutual relationship. That location does very well, and as our other locations do too. So we appreciate that partnership. Council, thank you for moving forward on this last piece of the marijuana ordinance. This one's been a long time. It's taken a lot of people to work on this. At the study session, I recognized the work of the city council or the city attorneys, Jim Fossone and Brandon, and the deputy mayor, and Mo and Aubrey and everybody that really worked behind the scenes to move this thing forward. And with council moving forward tonight, we will ask Craig Brown to update the city's website as far as the cannabis stuff. And we've done that after every council meeting and study session. So we'll get that information out there, and we'll also get the word out through the proper channels that will be opening up the application process on June 1st for a 45-day period. So we will get that word out. Council, you may have saw earlier this week or late last week, the police department received recognition for their 4-year recertification for CALEA. And I think if the press release didn't go out today, I think it's going to be going out tomorrow. So through the chair to Police Chief Jeff Jedrusik and your entire agency, it's quite an accomplishment. And you've stated before, it's very difficult to get certified, but it's extremely difficult to maintain that certification. Council, you probably saw last week that we put out a press release canceling some more upcoming events in the list. I know it's getting pretty lengthy, but it was the North Brothers 5K, the upcoming Memorial Day Parade, the Westland Craft Beer Wine Festival, the Relay for Life, the Splash Bash Community Gathering Outdoor Movie Night, the Smooth Summer Night Concert Series, which was scheduled for the 3rd week of July, and the Blues Brews and Barbecue. And so we're going to continue to try to pull together whatever we can yet in 2020. And with that said, we're hoping to work with the city council and the community when the time is right to do a community event to honor those that we have lost to the COVID virus. So we'll continue to keep them in our thoughts, and we'll try to figure out the best time and place to do that. Speaking of the coronavirus, the city website has received a major update. Craig Brown, he deserves a recognition for this. We've got just a couple of minor tweaks to it, but if you click on any of the buttons on the city's website, it'll take you to the city's new coronavirus website, and there's a lot of information, graphs. It's going to be interactive, so we'll continue to update that, but it's a major improvement from what we had to this point. And then the last two things I have is City Council, we have begun discussions internally on potentially opening up City Hall to the public with the start date of Monday, June 1st. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of action to make that happen, and we're working behind the scenes. When we open up the doors, my intent is to be open every day. Our intent would be to work with the unions to staff up City Hall as the volume of work comes back. So we're going to keep you updated on that. But at this point, that is the date that we're looking to update or open up City Hall to the public. Will be other buildings come online. Perhaps Jefferson Barnes in a modified version can come online at the same time. It's going to take a little bit of time to bring the library up to par for the public and also the Friendship Center, but we are working internally to make City Hall open to the public. With that said, it's going to be difficult to host major events here because even as the governor's starting to loosen things up, one of the things that she's still saying is that she's recommending not having gatherings of more than 10 people. So that's going to be pretty tough to have community events or rentals or maybe even public meetings here, at least in the initial part of this. So we'll definitely keep you updated on how we're doing on that. We're working on two subcommittees. One is actually working on making the building safe for the employees, and the other subcommittee is working on making the building safe for the public. And then I'll finish with thanks to our planning director, Mo. He reached out to Lamar Advertising. They're the folks that have the big billboard on Ford Road with the overpass. Their headquarters are on Hicks Road, south of Warren, and they have another free message that's going to be going up. If it's not up today, it'll be up soon, congratulating all the Westland graduates for 2020. And that was a donation. There was no cost to the city. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next we move to the city attorney, Mr. Fasson. If you're going to address the one question from the resident and anything else you have to offer, please.
Thank you, Council President. Yes. Since these provisions in the marijuana criteria have just been developed, I don't think anybody a year ago necessarily would have predicted I'm going to let my building run down and score more points. But we did try to build in. The question was, is there some recourse or provision countermeasure that might be built into the selection criteria? And there is a provision in the selection criteria. It's section 8E that provides that the applicant agrees that a conditional license or a license will not be renewed or even issued if there's any amount owed to the city, whether that be for a tax bill, a water bill, special assessment, any of those sorts of things. So somebody who has let their property run down, if they've not been paying their taxes, if they've not been paying their water bill, that would be the recourse to knock them out of consideration for the marijuana business license. So there is something in there that tries to address that issue. Second, I would want to thank everybody who has been involved over the better part of a year here in this evolving area of adult marijuana use and how to set up the business licenses for that. Many of you have participated in all, I think 11 or 12 now of the study sessions, and we appreciate your vigorous and robust comments along the way. I know I speak for Mo and Aubrey and Brandon and myself. We couldn't have done this without your input. We thank the mayor's office similarly for continuing to advance this and give guidance on how to move this forward, because it's certainly been an evolving situation as you've all seen. just two quick other things that the mayor's identified maybe June 1st as an opening date. I'd remind council that the governor, through one of her executive orders, and at this point there are 92 executive orders, but in one of the executive orders allows for virtual meetings such as this to continue through June 30th, just to put another place marker in your mind on timing. And then finally, I'd like to wish all of our residents here in the city of Westland and everybody who has served and paid the ultimate sacrifice. Remind everybody that this Memorial Day is going to come and go. It's going to be a lot quieter than we normally see. There's not going to be any big parades. There's not going to be as much recognition of those who've served and paid the ultimate price. But I know this is an important day for the city of Westland, and I hope maybe people get a chance to visit the Veterans Memorial Park behind the library and just pay their silent respects. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Jim. We now move to comments from the City Council. We'll start tonight with Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you, Council President. And I certainly hope you're wrong, Mr. Fasson, about that June 30th. I'm pretty much looking forward to getting back into our regular meetings. We've had a real busy few weeks here with all the study sessions, the budget meetings. We got a few more coming up. We got the recycling proposal coming back, and council's going to sit down and talk that through and see where we can go from there. I think it looks positive. There's not going to be any glass recycling, but that will have to be discussed and we'll come to a vote later. Regarding the parade and the caravan that was on our agenda, I just want to thank everybody, Vic and Councilman Londo, everybody that was involved in getting that together. I know a lot of school districts and cities were looking at trying to find a unique way to honor the senior class, and I think a caravan is a great idea, in full support. And then just on the Kroger gas station issue that came up, I want to echo the comments that Councilman Godbout had made. I was at that meeting in 2010. I remember it. And thanks, it was Lone Star Steakhouse. I was talking to somebody about it the other day. I couldn't figure out what the name of that restaurant was. My view, in addition to Councilman Godbout's comments, they said it was going to be a 198 square foot building that they wanted to put up. We have a lot more potential tax revenue for the city by keeping that a restaurant or something along those lines. It just doesn't go with our planning, our future planning for that area. So other than that, I just want to congratulate Mr. Merrill Downing and David Rappaport on their appointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I know they both do a good job and are both very dedicated. Both have been around for quite a few years as well. With that, I'll see you guys at the next study session on Wednesday.
Very good. Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. I too like to congratulate and extend my thanks to David Rappaport and Merrill Downing for continuing to serve on the ZBA. They do a great job for us, and it's much appreciated. I'd also like to take a moment to congratulate the seniors that are graduating this year, particularly the residents that attend both John Glenn and Wayne Memorial. This has been a tough year for them, a tough senior year. They've given up a lot. They deserve the recognition. And I know Wayne Memorial is also doing something for their seniors as well. But it's nice that the parents got together and started this organizing this event for the seniors. It's not the same as a regular graduation, but at least it's some kind of recognition. I'd also like to extend my congratulations to the mayor's son, Luke, and Deputy Mayor Reddy's son, Michael, on their graduation this year. So please let them know that I extend my congratulations to them as well. And that's all I have this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. I too would like to congratulate and thank both Mr. David Rappaport and Mr. Merrill Downing for their past and continued service on our Zoning Board of Appeals. We are still in census time. We're doing better, but we can do even better. So if you can take 10 minutes and visit 2020census.gov, you too can be counted. And it's important to be counted because that has a trickle down effect on the services that are available to you in our city and our funding. I too am looking forward to the graduation caravan for John Glenn, and I look forward to learning more about Wayne Memorial's. I think they're doing a drive-through situation, and just wanted to extend my congratulations to all of Westland's graduating seniors, be it whatever school you may attend. It is unusual, but through great trial and tribulation usually comes out the victors. So you have accomplished graduating from high school. No one can take that away from you. It just might be a little different, but that doesn't mean that down the road, your families and your schools and your communities will still find ways to celebrate your achievement. So congratulations and good luck on your future endeavors. I also wanted to piggyback on Attorney Fassone's poignant comments. This year, families in our city, not unlike any other, are going to be commemorating next Monday just a little bit differently. What is usually celebrated as an unofficial start of summer with picnics and parades and barbecues, this year we really do have the opportunity to truly reflect on Memorial Day and those ultimate sacrifices that were made on our behalf, most of those before many of us were even a thought. This day is meant to recognize our fallen men and women of our many branches of armed service. And it's also a day that can weigh really heavy, not only on the families of those people who are now gone and they're grieving for them, but it's also very heavy for the brothers and sisters in arms who have lost their comrades. And I think it's very important that they know that they are not alone and that help is just a phone call away. And they can call the Veteran Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. And I am just thankful for your sacrifice. Thank you.
Councilman McDermott.
Well, good evening. And I would like to echo my colleagues' comments on a couple of different items here to start. Number one, congratulations certainly to the class of 2020, both at John Glenn and at Wayne Memorial. This is obviously a very tumultuous time to be kind of starting out in the world with a pandemic and with everything that's going on, and certainly not the way that you and your families wanted to kind of tie a bow on your K through 12 10-year and your senior year. But congratulations to everybody in the class of 2020 at Wayne Memorial and John Glenn, and certainly wish you all the best as you go out into the world and as we all work together to combat this terrible COVID crisis. And then on Memorial Day, it's obviously a very somber occasion to honor and dedicate to those who are fallen men and women in arms. And while we may not be able to get together as we have in previous years to go to the Westland Memorial Veterans Garden and honor your sacrifices, we can still do that from our home, whether we're doing that with our families or if you live alone by yourself. I think it's still important to use that day, to use Monday, to reflect on those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, who can't be here with us. And we certainly thank everybody who served, but more so to honor those who had paid that ultimate sacrifice and are no longer with us. And then I'd like to continually thank each and every week our frontline workers, our PD, our fire department, our EMS, paramedics, those who work in the hospitals, doctors, nurses, the hospital staff, those who are at the grocery stores keeping the shelves stocked, the delivery drivers. Thank you for your continuous support. Thank you for the continuous dedication that you've shown throughout this COVID crisis. We certainly cannot get through this without your sacrifice and your dedication. And on that note too, I'd like to bring up, we've kind of talked about this the last couple of meetings, but haven't had a lot of traction on it, but some kind of potential uniform stipend if it's available for our fire department. They're still battling COVID on the front lines each and every day. They're still having to wash their uniforms 2 and 3 and 4 times a day between each run. And if it's 250, if it's 500, if it's some kind of small amount that we can give them as a uniform stipend, we know that they're putting a lot of wear and tear on their uniforms, having to do multiple washes per day, per shift as well. And then I would encourage all the residents to join us this Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the study session on recycling. I know that there were many people who were curious and wondered if we were going to bring back a recycling program here in the city of Westland when the millage passed. And certainly this Wednesday, we are going to discuss that request for proposal from Republic. And I would encourage everybody here in the city of Westland to join us 7 p.m. Wednesday on Zoom for the recycling discussion. And with that, I would like to close out by congratulating David Rappaport, Merrill Downing on their reappointments to the zoning board. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
Thank you, President Hart, and thank you to all my colleagues for a productive meeting tonight. I want to also start by congratulating both Merrill Downing and David Rappaport on their reappointments to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That's not one of the easy boards to be on, but those two chose to step up and asked to be reappointed, so we appreciate their efforts. Also, congratulations to the entire Westland Police Department, particularly Chief Jedrusik and his command staff. There's many names that go into being CALEA certified. I know I spoke on behalf of, spoke in support of them at one of the hearings they had at City Hall. I know many of the other elected officials in the community did as well, and other local business owners. So very proud of the staff of the police department and all the work that went into being to be reappointed for the CALEA certification. So great job, Chief, and your team. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Ralph from the building department. Ralph Welton from the building department, I apologize. He went above and beyond for a resident that reached out to me that were relocating or moving to the city of Westland, and with COVID and with everything going on, they weren't able to get a permit right away. I reached out to Ralph, and Ralph was able to take care of them and make sure to have a home inspection done for them in a timely manner since the house was vacant, and really went above and beyond. So Mayor, appreciate the efforts of your administration during this time. As far as Kroger's concerned, I'll just echo the comments of my other colleagues as well. And I also want to thank Kroger. We have, like the mayor said, they've done a lot of great investments here in our community. I live by the one at Cherry Hill and Merriman. They're getting ready to do a huge renovation there. So greatly appreciate Kroger for all their investments in our community. But I'll just echo the sentiments of my colleagues. We had a lot of talks about this, and that was a tough one, but I'll just leave it at that. And then congratulations to all the 2020 graduates. To Councilman Herzberg, I can't take any credit whatsoever. I was just helping promote it. That's all. That really comes down to the parents, the staff, and the administration for putting that together. But I did have some people reach out that had some concerns, and I told them that I would bring it up tonight. And again, we just want everybody to be safe. The safety and security of our residents is the #1 priority for us. So we really want to make sure everyone's Westland smart, Westland safe. You guys like that? Westland smart, Westland safe. Also, congratulations to the mayor's son and Deputy Mayor Reddy's son on their graduations. Excited for them. I know they're moving on to college, so good luck to them. Also, real quick with the parade, or excuse me, the caravan, I guess we'll call it. I did talk with the school administration today. They asked which elected officials in the community would like to participate. If anybody wants to participate, if you could just give me, I'll shoot an email out after the council meeting to the entire council and the administration and the city clerk. But if anybody wants to participate, we could park at John Glenn High School. They're going to give us some signs to hold up. They're going to make some signs for us, maybe something like "Congratulations, graduates from the city of Westland" or something along those lines. So if you want to participate, just please reach out to me and let me know. I want to get a head count so I can let them know how many signs to make. I'd greatly appreciate it. And then last couple things. Thank you to Councilwoman Rakowski for bringing up the census. I got a few bullet points I want to read as well. Many of you may have received a few mailers in the mail talking about the census. Westland's future is really counting on you. I know, like Councilwoman Rakowski said, we're close to our 2010 numbers, but we can do a lot better than that, Westland. You should have received your Census Bureau information in the mail in March. And for the first time in history, you can complete the census online. It's not just a survey, but it's an opportunity to create a better future for you, your children, grandchildren. Without taking the census, Westland will lose out on funding for healthcare, housing, roads, education, and of course, job opportunities. The census counts all people who reside in the city of Westland. reside in the United States regardless of citizenship, immigration status, and everyone in Westland counts. So appreciate everybody that's trying to get the word out about the census. Extremely important now more than ever with COVID, with all the revenue sharing that we're going to be losing. So it's extremely important that we get every dollar that we can get from the federal and state and local government. So with that, everyone have a safe, I'm not going to say happy Memorial Day, but have a safe Memorial Day, and remember all those who lost and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll begin tonight by thanking Councilman Londo for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That's always welcome. My colleagues speak so long, they leave me with nothing else to say, so I'll have to rehash a couple things. But a couple things. Thank you, Fire Chief Mike Stratner, for offering a couple individuals to help us with our closed study session for our health screening and to hand out PPE to the council members. That was very much appreciated so that we can hold our closed study session. So again, please extend my thanks. I thank them in person. Please do so again on my behalf. I really appreciate that. I'll say congrats to Merrill Downing and David Rappaport on their recent reappointments to the ZBA. Again, very important work. You guys do a bang-up job for us, and it's sometimes thankless, but critically vital for our city and our community. And the work that you do is very important. So we thank you. Again, congratulations, like everybody else said, to the high school graduates this year, both at John Glenn and Wayne Memorial. It's unfortunate that the seniors missed this opportunity. Meanwhile, the sophomores, freshmen, and juniors are loving this short school year. The one time the seniors wanted to stick around and have a celebration, it kind of got cut short. So this caravan's a fun way to show them that, look, you did it. Congratulations, encourage them. And applaud them as they move on in their life. So I'll do my best to be there at the caravan as well, holding a sign in full PPE gear. So we'll hope to see my colleagues there as well and supporting some of the graduates. Police Chief DeDrusik, congratulations to you and your department for your CALIA recertification. We've said it before, and we've all said it. We do have the best and brightest here in the Westland PD, and this shows. So we're happy that we were worked on your contract to make sure we retain the best and brightest right here in the city of Westland. So congratulations to you and your team and your men and women. Wanted to thank Craig Brown, again, the unsung hero, the man behind the Do It logo, who makes all of this happen, not only for us, but the planning commissions and the number of study sessions we've been doing. He's actually, all these study sessions we do, he's here with us, hiding in the background. So he's putting in the midnight oil, just like everybody else. So I don't watch what Ramsey does every day and all the other outstanding directors. I know they work their tail off, but Mayor, I can see what Craig's doing. So we're very thankful for all the hard work Craig's been putting in to make these happen for us and all the other interesting requests I'm sure he gets from everybody else. So it's a thankless job, but Craig, we thank you. We thank you. There's a talk about the next council meeting. Councilman Herzberg brought it up. So yeah, I think the stay-at-home order does end at the end of the month, and I would love nothing more to see everybody in person on June 1st and then June 15th after that. I don't know if we're ready. I still have to communicate with the administration a little bit, try to figure out where we're at. If I use kind of the attendee numbers on our Zoom, we're right around anywhere from 30 to 40, between, all the attendees, people in our attendance group and our panelists. So I kind of have to use that number to see if we go over that, we might not be able to do them in person, depending on what the stepped governor's orders are. So I think that's another reason why she's extended this ability for us to have virtual meetings. I'll tell you, if we can meet in person, I would prefer to meet in person. I'd like to see all of you. So we'll see. We'll have to step that out a little bit. But don't be surprised if we make the decision very soon that, June 1st for sure, we'll be virtual, and then we'll step it out at that rate and see how it works. But my goal is to meet in person. But if it doesn't work, I don't want to wait till the last minute. I just want to make a good educated decision and work with the administration and that facility, because the mayor does have to open City Hall and get it prepared for people. So we just want to make sure we're not overburdening City Hall too by having them in person. So we'll be smart about it. But I agree with you. I'd like to be in person. The last thing, it was a great meeting today, great dialogue. I'd like to thank all of my council members for contributing, working. I heard a lot of different points. Fantastic meeting today. And I wanted to thank everybody for showing up. Thank everybody for participating. And also tail end, Councilman McDermott did mention the recycling study session. There will be on this Wednesday. Recycling, we're going to be talking about it. The RFPs are back, and he's right. Recycling is going to look different. than kind of what we've been used to in the past. Okay. All the things that and you've heard us say this before over the past up to a year, recycling, it's not the way it used to be. It's going to be changing. It's going to be changing. Okay. The things that we thought were valuable aren't valuable. All right. So the council will be working together very closely with the administration and the RFP, the people who return the recycling bid, so that we can get educated, figure out what's going on, and then educate you. And then so we can figure out how we move forward. I will tell you that putting the wrong things in the cans will wreck our recycling budget no matter what we do. So we have to be very, very laser focused on what we're putting in the cans. So it'd be good if you're a part of that, so you can hear what's going on and hear from the horse's mouth as we're hearing it as well. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank and remember all of my brothers and sisters, past, present, and before me, that have made the ultimate sacrifice. This is a week from today is Memorial Day. It came on us quick, especially during COVID. You kind of lose track of the time, and now it's just right upon us. A lot of times, usually what we would do is I'd spend one day during that weekend, I'd take the kids out to Great Lakes National Cemetery. We have family there, and just my kids know. So all I could ask is you guys remember, and I think everybody will, but for those of you that have younger children at home, take them by the hand, take them to a veterans memorial, point to them and say, we're here because of these people here. So don't let them not know what Memorial Day is really about. It's not a 3-day weekend. It's a regular weekend with one day of memorial to remember those that have fallen and pay the ultimate sacrifice. So with that, I wish you all a very safe and memorable Memorial Day. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support.
Good evening.